Okay, so it being 7:05, I'll call this meeting of the Vinal Square Strategic Plan Committee to order. Let me turn on the video for the room. No, sorry. There we go. And this meeting is being recorded to Zoom. Our first item on the agenda is public comment, and seeing that we have no public comment, I'll move to the next agenda item. I want to welcome Chris LaValle here from the planning board. I've tried to send out some preliminary information, but if you haven't been tracking it, the planning board has been working on some rezoning concepts for a new zone called CD Light. And they started with some zoning conflict issues that came up in Kate's Corner. They've been looking at zoning conflicts across the town with NIMCOG, and they are have come up with some thoughts in terms of where the CB light zone could be applied near the North Village in order to help resolve zoning conflicts and make things better for the residents and businesses that are there. So Evan touched on this at our last meeting, and I'll turn it over to Chris. I invited Chris to step through the presentation, which I will also share, and get our feedback. And just keep in mind that Chris is also going to be looking for some input in terms of how we think this might best be vetted with the community, so. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Great. So back in 2023, the planning board worked with NIMCOG to identify areas of town where there are zoning conflicts. There were a number of areas: Kate's Corner, River Neck Road, and Vinal Square were three of the areas that came up. There are a number of options to mitigate, number of recommendations from NIMCOG at the time. You can do an overlay that's good for expanding options available to the properties. You can change the zoning to current zones. The challenges with that is that you're essentially changing the map across town, not just in one area. And you're really doing some significant work in remapping a lot of town. You can also change the use table for a specific zone, but again, it's not area specific. It really has potential widespread implications when doing that. You can do a little bit of both, or you can create a new zone. And looking at a lot of the areas that we were looking at, we started down the road of looking at Kate's Corner as our first area of conflict. And in looking at our options, we decided that the most flexibility and the most beneficial to the town would probably be to create a new zone. So that's where we headed. And so we're creating this CD Light using Kate's Corner as a model, but also we've started talking through applying it in theory to this area in the Middlesex Street area as a test case to make sure that it's not just fit for Kate's Corner, but it's also potentially useful elsewhere. Going forward to fall town meeting, we're only going to be presenting the new zone and applying it to Kate's Corner as zoning articles. We initially thought maybe this area might be a good town meeting for the fall. But given the timeline, it's probably not going to work. So we essentially backed out of that. This area was also brought forward once one of the current Bill property owners found out that we were looking at this. He did raise his area up as an area he would like to see changed as well. So that's another reason why it came on our radar. It's the 51 to 57 Middlesex Street area. All right, if you want to skip ahead 2 slides. So in this new zoning article, we're doing a lot of changes. We're creating a new zoning district. We're updating the use table for this new zone. We're updating dimensional requirements for the new zone, the SEOD dimensional requirements, the applicability, and then using that to then update the property line landscaping, street frontage, and we're also proposing one new definition for ultralight manufacturing and redefined light manufacturing as part of this rezoning. And you'll get a little bit of information as to why we're doing some of this. So I'll walk you through some of the changes in the zoning first, and then talk about the specific properties that we're looking at applying this to. So the first area is the dimensional requirements. And so we're really looking at this from minimizing the impact of the IA districts in areas where there are a lot of residential. And that's one of the zoning conflicts that we're looking to facilitate here. So we looked at some of the areas, and what we're looking to do is pull in the most beneficial uses from CA, CD, and IA, and bringing those into the CD light zone that we can use as a buffer between some of the more industrial areas and residential. We've also found that it's also potentially a good standalone, not just a buffer between IA and the residential, but it also could serve to replace IA in some of these heavy residential areas. And we found that to be the case in Kate's Corner, where we're essentially not using it as a buffer between IA and residential, but really replacing the IA in Kate's Corner. So we're really looking to minimize the impact on residential. And so what we wanted to do is make sure that there's enough buffer between this zone and residential. So we tried to keep the minimum yard requirements as much of a buffer as we can. So we're using the minimum yard requirements a little bit from the CB area, but also pulling some of the beneficial areas or the beneficial dimensions from IA. We are also kind of trying to balance with the notes. We added a number 7, where we're increasing by 40 feet where abutting residential used or zoned property. So we're trying to create the buffer. We're trying to minimize the impacts of IA in the dimensional areas.
Quick on this one before you switch.
Yep.
What was the NA with the depth feet? I don't remember that.
Can you speak a little louder? What's the question?
Sure. What is the NA with the depth with feet on CD light? I just don't remember.
So that one is essentially a correction of the 0 depth for CB. If I remember the discussion correctly, the 0 depth doesn't make sense as a dimensional requirement. It's really NA. And we're only changing it on that zone where I made a note to go back and potentially change the CD dimensional later.
Yeah, I was just curious what if somebody might ask that question, so because it just looks different.
Yeah. All right, so next slide. The applicability section for SEOD. So here we're looking at the dimensional and dimensional requirements and those settings for the CD light. Again, we're trying to make the balance, give enough buffer between the residential and this zone. We also are keeping the stories down to 3 in both the underlying zone and the CD light SEOD overlay, because we want to keep that buffer pretty low. We don't want a tall building in the buffer area. So I'm not gonna go through all of these. Use table, again, we went through all of the uses in the use table, and really looked at each use and said, is this a beneficial buffer next to a residential? So you'll see some of the best parts of IA, some of the best parts of CA, and the best parts of CB all pulled into this zone. I'm not going to go through each one individually, but you can see all the changes that we've made here. If you go to the last part of the use table in the industrial, one more. Yeah, you'll see the ultralight manufacturing as a new use that we're proposing to add. Also, the parking lot accessory use, we've added a note as well. And so I'll get to the definitions of the ultralight manufacturing and the light manufacturing in a minute. But if you go to the next slide, you'll see the new note where accessory use parking lots essentially need to be within a reasonable distance if they're on a different lot. All right, now we get into the manufacturing. We're not changing the heavy manufacturing definition, which is not allowed in any district in town. I just wanted to include it here as reference. Manufacturing light, this is our current definition. And we noticed as we were looking at this, for an area that we are looking at buffering between industrial and residential, we thought that the potential disruptions of what we consider to be light manufacturing in this definition are a little bit on the heavier side for an area that we want to buffer in the neighborhood. So we wanted to create something that's a little bit less impactful than this. And so we created the new definition of ultralight manufacturing. We also found as we were doing that, some of the wording in here is a little bit confusing because if you look at the examples, you could theoretically interpret this as the manufacturing of textiles, the manufacturing of wood and paper, manufacturing of chemicals. So we wanted to clarify that a little bit, that it's not the manufacturing of those materials, but it's manufacturing using those materials, products containing those materials. So if you go to the next slide, this is the ultralight manufacturing. It's a little bit more wordy, but we wanted to make sure that it is as precise as we can be without being too prescriptive. And it really is about lower volume, high value production of materials. The examples that we put in here are related to clothing and apparel production, prototyping, 3D printing, precision instruments. It's really about the smaller scale that we were looking to define here. And we tried to create a definition that controlled some of those impacts, yet didn't overly prescribe what we were looking for. The key here is limited loading infrastructure and tractor trailer use as compared to more intense manufacturing operations. If you go to the next slide, these are some of the clarifications that we made. So examples is we clarified paper goods instead of paper. So we added the goods and products into those that list instead of creating that string. All right, now I'm going to get into the parcels that we're recommending changing. So in the far right of the screen, we have the CB area. We have the CD.
Is this the new one or the old?
This is the old, I'm looking at the colors, the colorful one, so that's not helping.
So you have RC, which is pink.
RC, thank you, that was the one I was looking for. So we've got the CD in the left. We've got these.
So the pink is CD today.
CD is pink,
Gray is IA today.
and then the right color is CB. So what we looked at here is a couple of different things. The main focus was the Chelmsford Mills in the middle left area. That's the area where the property owner approached us to see if he could change from IA to CB. The reason, or commercial, the reason why is he's got a couple prospective tenants that would not be allowed under IA zoning. It would be the commercial, general commercial use, which is.
Such as?
These are two salons. One's a Medi Spa and one is a salon that they're
We need more of
looking at.
those.
The other thing is that there are other uses in here that could be considered a little bit more commercial. The other thing to point out is that in the bottom section, right under where the bottom CDLT is, that's the other warehouse where the establishment is on the other side of the street. And that is commercial zoned. So we've got old warehouses, old mills that are two different zones in two different sides of the street. In addition to that, part of the zoning conflict that NEMCOG identified here is that you've got a lot of residential butting up to IA. You've also got up at the top residential in commercial zone. And you've got residential that is abutting commercial or between commercial and industrial in the right-hand side. So you've got a lot of different zoning conflicts here. And so what we wanted to do is apply what we think might be a reasonable CB light zone to different areas, and also look at what's on the ground right now. So changing a lot of those residential properties to residential. So all of the RCs that you see in there, we've got in the tucked away in a little notch where the mills are, you've got a multifamily in there. So really applying residential zones to what is currently being used as residential. And then looking at the rest of what we've got, which is mostly railroad, utilities, and the mills. And so with all of that, we really would not expect industrial to be going back in here anytime soon. So that's why we're looking at this area saying, this might be a really good area where we want to remove IA because it does abut so much residential and commercial. And the CDLT would be a nice advantage or advantageous zone for this multi-use area. Now, we didn't want to go too far north because we know that that's getting into the Vinal Square area central. And so we know that there's a lot of planning going on with that. So we wanted to try and stay as far out from that as possible. So that's why we kind of stopped at that side street where I've got the last RC there. If you look to the right, all the way down Middlesex that way, you don't have the zoning conflicts that you have in this section. So that's why we can go further that way.
We didn't have the existing zoning on this, in this presentation, right?
Here we do,
Is it,
the colors.
oh, just the colors, is what it is?
Colors, and then he's got a slide behind it.
Okay.
So the next slide essentially is the summary of what properties we're looking to rezone, and then what it currently is and what it would go to. So if you look there, there's a lot of IA mixed in with the area. And it just really is not used as IA.
Like the residential.
Some of it's residential and some of it's more, a lot of it's railroad. Some of it is more of what we're calling the ultralight industrial manufacturing.
What's the downside? And Mike, if you need to help a finance guy out with that, please do.
Are you guys okay if I stop sharing so we can see everybody?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What's the downside?
The downside is that a lot of the heavier side of the manufacturing that we're considering light manufacturing would no longer be an option for this space. In reality, I don't see that ever coming back to this space particularly. So I actually have not seen the downside for this area.
And if a business currently fits to the old zoning, they're grandfathered, right?
It'd be pre-existing non-conforming.
But you're saying you go from heavy manufacturing to light.
No, we'd be going from
to
light
heavy?
to ultralight.
Oh, all right, still going lighter.
Yeah, we're going lighter.
It allows like for more kind of smaller scale businesses to go into those mill areas and things like that. More things for people to enjoy and go to versus some of your higher industrial items.
A use that could go in here with the new zone is the, where Navigation Brewery is in Lowell, those artist areas, a lot of that would be considered the ultralight manufacturing because
That'd
it's
be pretty cool.
the cottage industry style of manufacturing that we'd be allowing in this zone.
There's some of those places too, like over the border in, Nashua, those little niche places, they're really cool.
Yeah, because right now that rule number 5 concept would not be able to go in the IA because that would be considered pretty basic commercial.
It's more flexibility for smaller scale businesses.
Okay.
Chris, would this allow a restaurant, like establishment that's over on the establishment, to go on to the other mill, if possible?
Yes, the restaurants are allowed in our CD light.
Okay. The only item I was looking at is the IA. So are you saying there's residential right now in the IA as it is, and then you're trying to put it back to RC?
Yes.
So I just want to see how much more residential is going to be built in the IA then if we switch this over to RC.
How does residential today get built in IA?
It doesn't.
So are those, when those happen, were they zoned after? Is that change after?
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, those houses I think are fairly old, that probably predate zoning.
An area where we have that is the Riverneck area. A lot of residential in the IA.
So currently though, in an IA zone, you could not build a residential home.
You could build a multifamily under the SAID. But that's it.
So
Mike,
Chris,
is
I know you
that-
got, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I just want to say, is there any lots? You guys did a great job. This is awesome. And I think the only concern is, do you see, or even Evan, do you see any additional multifamily homes, the duplexes in any of these lots that are buildable, that are big enough that would increase in this area on Middlesex Street?
I would say that's a possibility as long as it's not owned by the railroad.
Yeah. So
And
there
there
is,
was
there are buildable lots along in the IA then.
There may be a couple. But if they're built for, a duplex, I'm not sure anyone I'd imagine people would view that favorably.
Right,
As long as we don't have another house like between Dunstable Road and Thingsboro Road, Evan, then
Not the one right up on the road?
where you can reach out and touch the wires. Yeah, that would be the one.
Laura, do you have any questions or comments? No.
I just want to mention also, Mike, we still have the SEA overlay applicability in the zone. So if people wanted to build multifamilies as part of that overlay, they could.
Okay.
Mike brought up the restaurants. I forgot I had a question on one of your slides here.
Yep.
So if you look at what's included in the new zone, way down at the bottom of this one, restaurant is a yes. I forgot what that footnote means, but then if I go to the next slide, there's restaurant, and then restaurant fast food is blank, and restaurant with drive-through. Oh, are A, B, and C all categories of fast food? So does this basically mean that no fast food would be allowed?
Correct.
Okay,
Restaurants, I believe that note is a small restaurant
Yeah.
is allowed, but fast food restaurants are not.
and then like where it's like line 22, bank or financial is blank, and there's another blank one here for retail stores. Retail stores is defined. by-
It's the category underneath.
Yeah, it's the A
I
and
see,
B.
so it's the A and B. one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So drive-throughs are not, without special
I just
permit,
wasn't reading the table.
without drive-throughs are allowed, already. And again, we wanted to minimize the impact of the residential, for these areas, so we think we pulled in the best pieces of each of the zones, and left out the most impactful areas, uses. And again, initially, we wanted to bring this to fall town meeting, but after the timelines, we didn't think we'd be able to get it through. So we're still going forward with this, but using it as almost another test case for the zone that we're trying to create and put through a fall town meeting, in addition to the Kate's Corner.
So is this one gonna go to spring?
This will probably go spring. Unless by some miracle we happen to figure out the timing, but I doubt it.
Evan, do you have anything on that?
No, I think the board's done a good job. You want to describe next steps?
Yeah, I think ideally what we'd like to do is do a similar process to what we did with Case Corner. Have more informal discussions with the neighbors. For this zone specifically, I think, unless there's something major that we've missed, we want to keep the zoning itself intact for town meeting. But again, unless we've missed something major, we can make that adjustment. But we'd like to get input from the residences and the neighbors and the property owners in an informal discussion before we go to a full public hearing. Gather more input as to which properties we would convert to what, get that feedback, make our final decisions, and then put forward a proposal for the formal public hearings where we gather input. But we really want to try and get as much input as we can informally.
So when you would do that at a planning board meeting,
Yep.
so the full board here said.
Yep.
So like Evan, is your plan to notify like all the people in those zones and the abutters? I guess, Chris, I don't know if the rest of the committee has any ideas, but I could offer that, we have a Facebook page that has a fairly good following, so when you're ready, you can help push it out on that.
Yep.
And I know Joe Tierney had established a fairly robust email distribution list too, so we could push it out through that as well.
That's what I was hoping to hear. That we'd get really good distribution channels through this group to really get good public awareness for those informal discussions. So we can really flesh it out a little bit more before taking it to the
And I know like some of the local businesses in Vinyl Square too, if you have like a little poster or whatever, that they're very amenable to, you know, Rosie's and some of the other businesses very amenable to just putting it up at their entranceway so people see it.
And the more awareness we can get to this zone, maybe it would be applicable to move even further up or create a different zone for the Vinyl Square proper area that might include some of this stuff.
We've always got good attendance with holding a public input session too.
Yeah.
It was always better when we did drinks, but we've gotten good attendance.
I think something that could be done for those type of meetings, to be clear though, is a slide ahead with existing and still keep your overlay one that you have for the together, just to put it in people's minds about how chaotic the current one is, and then move to the next one after, just to be visually.
And that's a good idea because I'm colorblind, so I'm having trouble with those colors, so that'd be
Even
good
just,
to
even just
label it.
like annotate on the slide you have,
I
like I
think
did with my
so.
pen in parentheses, I put the existing zone next to the box.
But I think it's important for people to see the chaos, because like Kate's Corner and everything, there's a lot going on with these zones. So you show them that first to be like, look at what you have now, and then we're gonna clean it up and it's gonna be this and you have more protection of your space, so.
With Kate's Corner, it's slightly different because it's bigger blocks. With this area, it's a lot of different little blocks.
I like your perspective too, you're going lighter.
Yeah.
You're not talking about bringing in
No.
heavy, you know, industrial manufacturing.
No.
So,
Going the opposite direction, and that's the idea, is to protect these neighborhoods.
Mike mentioned it, restaurant, brewery, you mentioned that stuff, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
And we really tried to keep the sizes of these things smaller, so the restaurant's gonna be smaller, to make it more of that neighborhood feel that belongs right next to residential.
Walkable entertainment.
Exactly.
The other place I would consider putting up a little sign too is the McKay Library, you know, a lot of foot traffic.
Okay, any other feedback or input?
Nothing else from the Zoom room?
No, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we're continuing our public hearings for the zoning itself on Wednesday, so if you want to provide positive input for this, please feel free to take.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
So, the next agenda item is just knocking out a couple of administrative things. We don't have any minutes tonight. Laura Lynn said she would work on them, getting them all in shape for next time. I do want to make sure I get feedback from folks on the draft annual report. So I just quickly step through this by section, if you have a chance to read it. Did everybody have a chance to take a look through it?
I have just minor, really minor
Okay.
comments.
Any comments to the members section? Is anybody looking at this for the first time? Okay,
No.
that's okay. Then I'll
I've been in multiple
scroll
different countries,
slower.
it's my fault, I'm sorry.
No, it's no worries.
No, I should have, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I didn't either, so I'm in your same boat. I just quickly scanned, but I didn't read it.
Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Can I keep going?
Yes.
The background statement, I just kind of modified and made it a little more concise than last year's. And then what I did was I laid out major activities and then other things we support or have been tracking. So let me just put up the first screen for the major activities.
I said one comment is ending FY 25. Right
Yeah,
there,
I'll
and then
fix
right
that.
there too, on the Vinyl Square clock tower.
Mhm.
And then,
Hang on.
Well, the only other project that stood out to me that we started to coordinate, but it was more behind the scenes and we only just presented it to the public, was the Richardson Road Route 3A project. We've been working on it and we just started that process, so it's, I guess, to this committee, it's perceived more as an FY26 project, which I can see, but I guess we're reporting it and DPW's report.
You are, so what I had done with that was I had listed it under the other areas
Yeah,
of
that's-
interest at the
that's
bottom. Do you want me to bring it up? or-
No, I think that's fine, that makes sense because it's really just coming to life to this committee.
I said DPW did the preliminary.
Yeah, that's fine,
Okay.
that's fine, yes.
So are we good with?
And then, oh, yeah, go ahead.
It's okay, can I keep scrolling down?
Yes.
Tree beautification was actually $100,000.
For the,
The grant here?
Yeah, the grant for the dog park was $35,000, and then the trees that we spent on the high school was $65,000. $100,000 in trees.
Okay.
Between the two projects. It was two separate grants. That included.
we had 50,000 for Vinyl Square.
No, this was the total number for the town, which she said is actually 100,000. I took that number out of some minutes somewhere.
It's in the high school and dog park.
But
I mean,
then
it was really a town-wide earmark, but
Right.
the application was in that area.
Well, what was so I wrote,
It was a $75,000 earmark and a $35,000 effort, a grant, Cooling Corridor grant. But we only spent in North Chelmsford, I'd say 65,000 for the trees. There was like some trees at Hart Pond and some trees at
Right.
Eastland.
so I'll just also change this to say it was like townwide beautification, not just beautification.
You said throughout the town, but it was, that $100,000 was spent at the Chelmsford High School and the dog park.
Is the high school and the
Wait,
dog
what
park
was the
in North Chester?
65K you just told me was?
Well, 65 plus 35 is the 100K, so it was $65,000 for the Chelmsford and
So the
Harrington
whole
Fields.
100,000 was spent at the high school and the dog park?
Yep,
Okay.
and Harrington Fields. So 66 trees for the Chelmsford High
I
School
wasn't
and
that far
Harrington.
off, just the number.
Yeah, it was just $100,000, yeah. And that includes not just the tree, but the watering effort too for the trees.
Okay. And then I don't.
I just want to say, even for the minutes, whomever trimmed the trees in Vinyl Square and the Common,
Joe.
especially to see the statue, thanks.
Joe did it. Yes,
Looks good,
we
thank
did, I haven't actually seen it, yeah, there's a lot
You can
of,
see the statue.
there's a lot of trimming going on around town, National Grid's doing a lot around the wires, but we did that one.
On behalf of the
I'll
committee,
sign it,
thank you very much.
So then I listed here just other areas that I know we either support, track, or weigh in when it's appropriate. I wasn't sure of the AOP field improvements, I couldn't figure out
That was
if that was
really,
the previous fiscal year.
that really was the
Right.
previous fiscal
So
year,
I'm gonna take that
so
out.
we could, yeah. I think there might have been some miscellaneous pieces that finished, but I would just take, we tagged up for last year.
So any other comments on the content? My only other comment is I know last year there were a lot of pictures included, I don't really have.
I have some
Pictures.
that I can send you for the trees.
Okay, and I need like the full resolution, they don't want PDF or compressed pictures.
Yeah, I'll send that. The only other, I mean, you say roads and sidewalks, yeah, you list all those, the bridge projects, so, yeah, I can't think of anything else.
The wayfinding signs, those haven't gone in, right?
We have them, Joe was, if they weren't last week, they will be very soon, we have them, he just has to go out and dig safe them. And then same with the, entrance to Chelmsford sign, we did purchase one for Middlesex Street and I think for Boston Road. They're not the official ones from the state, but they're essentially will look the same.
Okay, so if I go back to the annual report, Christine, you're gonna get me pictures of trees.
I have pictures, yes, I have.
Bill, do you have like a rendering of the clock you want me to put in here?
Sure, maybe we could take one that's sitting in the DPW.
I have a picture of the, actually, I have an actual picture.
Picture of the
Well,
clock.
I don't, my picture is in a box still, but I do
One
have
of the
an
greatest
actual.
things to be honest.
This is
Fiscal 25.
It's also in
No, we
pieces
won't.
right now.
We could Photoshop it.
Does anybody have any pictures of like the Vinyl Square, tree lighting event?
Oh, there's a number of those we could get, yeah.
Who has them though?
Well, to be honest, I go to Facebook and pull them down, but
I
Joe,
can't, I need the high resolution.
okay, we'll ask Joe.
Is Joe has them?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, to be truthful, it's a good point. Everybody takes them on their iPhone today.
Okay,
Hey, Virginia,
yes,
on the next page, previous page you set up, I think it's the following page after this, on the roads and streets.
where?
Right there in the middle, roads and sidewalks.
Yeah,
So it includes, is that Burton Lane or is there another Burton Street?
Oh, Burton Lane.
And then are those the only 3 streets that are being redone up here in North Chelmsford?
I don't know, I knew those were 3 of the main things that Christine has brought up going into the current fiscal year.
Oh, I didn't know if we were
Now,
just trying to capture them all or.
I can just delete the parenthetical if we're
I mean,
worried
I
about
would,
it.
maybe if you just put, FY 25 paving program, cause that's part of, but Main Street is a separate, project and Middlesex Bridge is a repair. So maybe if you just put, or if I'm gonna give you the streets, I just have to,
No, I don't need to list all the streets.
if you just say FY 25 paving program. We did a lot of paving
Okay,
in North
and was
Carolina.
Middlesex Street in FY 25 or is that this year, this fiscal year? Should I just blow that away?
Well, we're doing the work right now, but we
I know.
did the design, so it's really, it's both years, so
Okay.
it's, I guess it's gonna run both fiscal
But is
years.
that the state or is that local?
That's, us and the water district, it's our code,
Oh,
actually.
okay. So just get rid of local state and just say FY 25 program.
When is the-
FY, yeah, if you say FY 25 paving program and then Main Street design and Middlesex Street Bridge repair. Those are really the 3 projects we have going on.
Okay.
When does the fiscal year run in the town?
June
Okay,
30th.
anything else?
June 30th.
Great, thank you.
Well done, sorry.
What?
Well done.
Yeah, it was good, thank you for putting that together.
So, the next thing that I guess I just want to get a sense from the group right now. I have the next thing on the agenda are the disposition on the open plan items. The thought I have in my head right now is to take that out of order and see how we're doing after we get through some of these other things and start the discussion or carry it over to the next time. This is 10 April,
Sure.
we're almost an hour in and I don't want to shortchange some of these other things. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna come back to that at the end and we'll see how everybody's feeling. So the next thing on the agenda is the clock status and the schedule. So I'm gonna turn that over to Bill and Christine.
Okay,
I have one more thing, sorry, one
Oh,
more
I'm
thing
sorry.
back here, just thinking about, we did add a charging, and it was just completed, added charging station at McKay Library. And we're repaving that lot. Technically it will be FY 26, but it was designed, so sorry, that's the only other thing. And then there's one more.
But the charging station was last year,
The charging station was installed, yes.
okay. Right, I turn it over to you guys now for the walk.
So we have it.
I have to tell you, one of the greatest texts you could, or emails or whatever you could get when you're not even in the country, that the clock has arrived, so that's fantastic. Thank you for everything that you've done to get it
There
here.
it is.
Does it look okay?
Yeah, it does say North Chelmsford and Chelmsford.
That's
I mean, this is me standing on a ladder safely, looking down at the clock and it's off.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But that's the poster.
Not for the minutes, but we do have to get it in, because I know that John Harrington wants to put one in the center itself.
So Aaron, Paul, we've gotten through the rezoning discussion, like annual report, and we're on the clock right now. We're gonna go back at the end to the plan and that disposition of the plan.
Is the clock here?
Clock is
Yeah, you
at
just missed all
DPW.
that.
It's in a box and I don't wanna take it out.
No, I agree.
It's staying in the box.
That's exactly right.
So we try to inspect it as best as we can.
What's left over for the installation planning? Like you
Yeah, so
have
we-
schedule
so we-
and
There's a few things.
Yeah, so I guess what I know is, so we did apply, for the permit through, two applications. One is to pull the work order to get the electrical connection. So after the last meeting, I think even though we're still figuring exactly where, we know where that electrical service has to go to, and now we know where everything's going. There's a little bit of a hiccup with getting that permit because we're not technically the owner, because Mass DOT is the owner of the right of way. So we
Okay.
went to Mass DOT and was like, okay, can you apply on our behalf? And they said, no, National Grid has to do it. So we're just trying to go through the logistics right now, but we're moving that, forward as
Please,
fast as we can.
we'll connect offline, please, if it's a national grid thing like the telephone pole, we'll get it taken care of, and
So we're
if
working
it's
on
Mass
it,
DOT,
yeah.
we'll get Rodney
Yeah,
to
I don't
do
think
what
she
he needs
needs
to
help
do.
with that.
So we're working
No?
on it, so,
Okay.
no, so we're good, so basically, it's just, we're kind of just playing phone tag between National Grid and Mass DOT,
Okay.
but we have the right people involved.
Okay,
So, we will get N-Grid to pull the electric and Mass DOT to officially file the state permit,
Okay.
It's still,
any issues, let me know.
yeah, the only thing is, I think it just aligns more with, we had talked about the fall install, so it's just aligned more with the fall install. Our
Yeah.
goal is to try to get this done in the month of August, and that's our goal. If something is delayed, because we are having a lot of other locations where National Grid is behind,
Yeah.
we'll try to push them and have that pressure placed on
I'm
it.
guessing it could be the fall, as you're gonna go through some other things here with the bricks and all that.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's so then we did have a meeting, or I wasn't out there, but Chris Haley, our sustainability manager, he met with the charging stations, because we have, the charging stations are starting to come in to all the sites, and we did share the latest site with them, which is, this is the plan and desire where to put the charging stations, one here, two there.
Can you describe it for the people?
Yes, so this is the latest plan that shows the proposed clock location, which is essentially in that area right now that exists at the back of sidewalk. I think it was emailed, this is the one that was emailed, I think by Brian Creamer. And what it does is it expands upon the existing median and wraps it around, to if you're looking at the parking lot, to the building, yes, the next slide, the next page, I think. I think it's a 2-page, if you scroll down. Yes, so that plan was what was presented to him. The charging stations are probably going in fall timeline, because they have to actually get a new pole installed, there's a little more coordination needed on their end to get, and they have to maybe take a tree down. But I think the clock can go in separately, as long as we know that, okay, this is where the charging stations are going, these are where the parking spaces need to go, and this is where so this plan, I guess the good thing about that meeting last week is that we have buy-in from the charging station project on this plan, and this is the plan we're moving forward with.
Christie, are you okay with these plans? Look, I would even state for the minutes, Brian has done an unbelievable job.
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to be doing this without him, but I know that he is not hired by the town to do these architectural drawings. Are you okay with what he's provided?
This is fine, when we go to do the restriping, and if we're looking at the handicap spaces, we are gonna have to look at the grading, that's why we have to get into spot grades, because you can't have more than 2% cross slope across those spaces, so we'll have to look that takes a little more looking into. So we'll actually have to probably start pulling some grades. We have a GPS unit that can do it. And then the brickwork, so the thing is that you could build out the brickwork at a later date too. You also wanna kind of box in the brickwork with some type of curbing, which, we could coordinate that. Joe says we can probably coordinate the curbing pretty easily. The brickwork,
I got your email.
it's just, it's a lot, and so it's, or do you section it, do you start, just a thought, is do you have a larger green area to begin with, and then you have a certain, I guess maybe that's a way to approach it, is have a different amount of bricks going in.
No, I really appreciate it. When you sent the email today,
Can you bring everybody up to speed on the brick issue? Like, because not everybody was on the email list.
oh,
So
sure.
let's frame it for folks.
The issue is that the town doesn't lay the bricks, we need to lay the bricks. So along with, installing the clock and, doing the renovations here, we've got to figure out a way to pay for the bricks to go down. Some of those bricks have been purchased by people in the town. The other bricks will have to be purchased by the town and installed. We would wind up paying for them in the same fundraising mechanism as we did for the clock. So Christine got a rough quote today of 40 to 50,000.
That's just based off of Mass DOT's bid prices, which are, it's industry accurate, but if you make it a smaller piece, you might come down, I mean, that's a rough ballpark,
40 to 50K to install the bricks.
that size.
For a certain square footage or something.
So I did fall off my chair this morning, but that's
Sorry.
okay. I got myself back up. Checked with a couple, and the likelihood is, like, I won't say the particular landscaper, but well known in town. We could probably do the bricklaying and even purchasing the bricks for half of it.
Right, and part of that is our procurement with private, so there are some landscapers that will not do prevailing wages, and we're obligated to do prevailing wage rates.
Yes.
So that may play a part. So that depends on who's procuring.
So for the committee, it's going to be an additional cost to do a nicer layout. Remember, we talked about putting this clock in the location that you just saw, and then in the future, when we do kind of the traffic flow, it's gonna be in a different location. At the last meeting, we said, you know what, maybe it makes sense just to keep it in the location that we're gonna put it in. But because we wanna make it a little bit nicer, it could cost a little bit more money. I'm not necessarily worried about the cost. We'll get it paid for.
Okay, just if you go back, I guess a thought was that area where the charging station's that might spill into the fall. So I guess at this current time, I don't know what's going in first. I would think maybe the clock versus the charging station. So what you could potentially do is this brick area first, and then just keep that kind of like mulch landscape, and then you can build it out over time if you wanted to.
I thought all the bricks, when we talked about this last time, all the bricks were purchased by people. Is there more bricks here than was purchased?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
So why don't we make a bigger green space there?
The total bricks purchased, 25, 30, and I forget, the space holds, if I remember, like 900. Does not mean that we need to put 900 in, but the 25 or 30 bricks that have been purchased won't be the whole brick space that you see there. So you're absolutely right. We could do fewer bricks. We could do more green space. We could continue to build it out over time.
So you
whatever
talked
that
about
may
the
be.
pocket park before with the green
Yes.
space, but I thought you guys had mentioned that they were all purchased bricks, that's why we had to do more bricks.
And this is Christine's expertise, not mine. So if we need to put the
Also-
clock in
also-
and we start the bricks and we get a section done with more green space, that's absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
and then also the reason why that dollar value of 40,000 is a different way, if we were to do it a different way, we have to go out to almost a bid or 3 quotes, whereas if it's a smaller area, you still have to get quotes, but it's a different process for us, so that's why I was
If we
trying to
did-
follow apart.
A smaller area, then another smaller area.
As long as you phase it.
So that was the process that I think we're gonna take.
So if you phase it, phased approach, and I also don't, you almost don't wanna, I guess right now, it seems like now there's a poll petition has to take place to get now power to the charging station, not to our, and so that's gonna take some time, so I just don't want us putting and saying, we're ready, everything's ready, we're waiting for the charging station, so I'm just, the thought is that, this is something I just thought of today, is, the area right around the charging station might want to be left more mulched or green in the interim until you figure out what to do. And that would also reduce your cost.
Once again, I defer to you. You do this a whole heck of a lot more
And
than
then
I
the
will.
other space is a lot less of the space.
As I thought about it today, perhaps talk to some people, phasing does make sense. In cost, if you need to move forward with it, we will get the check to you from the Friends of.
Well, first I guess I have to, we're gonna take some grades. So this is good, I guess what I might ask Brian is if this is in CAD or something that we can take this to basically then run with it to get some grades. To check to see what we can do with the parking lot,
Okay.
and restriping the parking lot, but yeah, I guess it's good that we have this plan to work off of, and then we can phase it however we need to.
Okay.
I just want to give comment, I think green looks way better than mulch. Just FYI.
Now, the 30 bricks that you have, those are gonna be
Will those start at the
named,
base of the clock, basically?
cause right, that doesn't show that, that's the thing, is that
As a
doesn't
matter of
show
fact,
that.
I don't know how you design
Right,
the bricks. I don't know if you I don't know, to be honest.
Just a thought, you might want, we might want, right now just shows the footing size
Yeah.
of the clock, which we won't tell the footing.
Yeah.
We'll do that in-house, so if you wanted to have some cutout of bricks around the base of the clock, that would just be something else that, I mean,
If there's only 30, maybe you put them around the base and then let the rest be green.
Right, the pocket
Big
park.
bricks, the little bricks.
They're a regular.
Well, you should go with one by one. Because you have space for 900 bricks, but you only sold 30.
I thought we sold it, but.
If there's only
No, the
15
problem
or
is
30,
that
I think it would be more cooking.
We fundraise without needing the bricks, but the bricks were meant to bring the community in.
I mean, that's the thing too, is you could put each of those bricks have a name or something on it, I think, right?
Yeah.
So those you could have sprinkled throughout the space too, however you want it.
Right. I do actually they sent me just some other bricks as well, so that when we go to purchase them, we could do that.
Yes, we.
Maybe they do make bigger ones, and maybe someone will make
The dog park has,
maybe someone will make a
they're like
donation
6 by 6, 8 by 8s.
to make those
You should see the,
people's bricks
Yeah, no
even
problem.
bigger.
you should see the ones that
Is there
the,
anything?
But just before we move on from
Sorry,
this-
Teresa, go ahead, Evan, sorry.
This is all town property, but as you recall, the town's in the process of getting a new long-term lease agreement. So have you had any communication, or do you intend to notify?
I have.
As far as.
The work, yeah, the physical work.
No, that's in the town portion.
No, I know, I just thought maybe for
Yeah.
courtesy.
No,
We haven't done anything, we've just
No.
been
To-
planning.
This question is just
Look,
about. the
you
clock.
have all advised me to make sure that both, owners on either side are well aware, and I have.
Was he aware of the
Rich Farrell and
EV
Kevin Broderick
stations
are-
and so
Bill,
forth?
this question is the broader stuff,
I'm just saying, I don't know how
charging,
the
things that you
easement
don't-
conversations are going, but I just figured as a way not to, as a way to continue the good relationship.
I mean, DPW has not reached out to anyone, because we typically would do that before we start construction.
Okay. I'll share with you,
Stations?
yeah, just the whole thing, just in general, because you're talking to him about the clock and but the other work, is, closer to,
Just to double.
yeah, just like an FYI. I don't think you'd be opposed to it. I don't think you'd have any concerns. But just to, continue the good relations.
Good idea.
I'll give
I
you
have
this.
personally not mentioned
Yeah, we
anything
can,
about
I'll
these.
have
Contact.
Sally reach out to them. I guess, so the timeline of the charging stations is still unknown, but there's sometime this fall. The timeline of the clock is planned for this fall, just not sure if it's September or October.
It's all right around the corner.
And so all coming in, so really have to finish the work order in the Mass DOT permit, which we're working on, so it's that hiccup, communicating with both of them. And then the detailed grading, layout, and curving we can do, and then figuring out the brickwork, whether it be, I mean, I think it has to be subbed out, it's just subbing out a small portion is easy for us. A larger project becomes more of a bid for us.
Okay, so we'll go with the subbing out a smaller portion. I have not contacted the brick company yet to say, we're good, please send. If we did that over the course of the next month or so, is there some place that we could put 30 bricks?
Yeah, right next to the clock.
Okay.
Yeah, so we store a lot of our stuff, this season in the wash bay, but come the winter, that wash bay is, a lot of trucks are being
Sure.
washed after every snowstorm, so. As long as it's out of there by November, December.
Okay.
Okay, Sarita?
Yeah, just real quick, I was up at the Old Man in the Mountain Memorial this past weekend, and they had a lot of different brick designs around that memorial down there that were pretty interesting. But they still also had a lot of green space.
Look, I
Just, they
have
had
to
different
admit,
size bricks though, and they actually did it, it was kind of cool.
I will openly thank Paul. I sent a picture to him from a golf course a couple of years ago and said, can I do it? I don't know how to design bricks and things like that. So whatever ideas we might have with a potential landscaper,
Sure.
I'm open. That's not,
Okay.
I just want the big thing.
Anything
with
else on the
four
clock
fence
from the Zoom room? No?
Christine, does the bricks in the public sidewalk have a concrete base underneath them so it doesn't heave?
I think we do actually hot mix asphalt base we do concrete base now. Yeah, because
You do?
I've gone between different communities concrete, but I know the concrete or the center is concrete base.
So the committee doesn't have to pay for that portion of it, just the bricks?
Well, I guess for this, I'm gonna have to talk to our engineering if this needs to be concrete or hot mix asphalt to see, because you can do either one. But yeah, I mean, that $50,000 was a full install cost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's not just the bricks, that's the full install. That includes the cross section, whether it be concrete or hot mix asphalt. We typically do concrete. I'm trying to think what Friendship Park is. That might be asphalt.
Even though these aren't sidewalks, it requires asphalt or concrete under it.
Yeah, it needs, at least asphalt.
You're gonna have to make sure your landscaper can do asphalt or sub that out.
Well, so there's,
Because I know,
we can talk, I have an idea, if it's a smaller scope, I have an idea.
you guys know.
You know the landscaper anyway.
Oh, good.
Are we
That was more of
okay?
a question. That was just a question for me. I knew they don't do stone dust right underneath it, so. Thank
So
you.
I guess I have to go back, we've done a lot of brickwork in parks, and I guess I have to look at that cross section a little more. But this is a little bit unique because this is it is a park, but it's a patio too, so I think we want some type of base. Because eventually you wanna have other things, you don't want movement of those bricks.
Yeah, I think the more we've thought about it, should keep them there.
I mean, like, you don't want like movement.
No, no frosties, no, those are no good.
Are we okay to move on from the clock? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your work in that. The next agenda item was alternatives to the vinyl square flower pot live plantings. So, my understanding is we have two categories of live plantings, the flower pots that Janet Murphy helps coordinate every year, and the evergreens, which I don't think Janet's been involved in.
She does not.
If you go to Vinyl Square or drive through there, the two evergreen pots on either side of the municipal lot entrance are dead. The ones on the green are at least half dead. The flower pots on the green still look okay, so I'm
Yep.
assuming somebody's watering those. And then we have like a green near Rosie's that looks well, I think they must be watering it.
Correct.
And the hardware store is questionable, but still hanging in there. So there was a little bit of just a email exchange with the guys that put the evergreens in. And my question is, Evan had made a suggestion, maybe we wanna consider getting a high-end artificial evergreen for those evergreen pots. I didn't know if the committee wanted to consider something like that for the next season, or if we just need to make sure we have a better watering plan for the evergreens.
Can you give a
we-
comment?
Excuse me, and then also, I haven't talked to Janet, but like if she still likes to do the live plantings and people prefer that from a beautification standpoint, we can do that or consider artificial for that too. So I'm gonna stop now, but thoughts about at least the evergreens, because the current approach isn't working. This is the second year in a row they've died.
So arborvitaes require a ton of water.
Well, I know.
And I'm just commenting, allow me to speak, please, thank you. So they require a lot of water. I did mention this at the first meeting when I had attended here. I think it would be a fantastic idea if pots could be sponsored by local businesses and then have them maintain the pots like they do in other places. I mean, other cities, other towns, you see a lot of that. Because it has like their business name on it and the pots, and when people are seeing it, it's twofold. It's advertising for those local businesses and also makes them look really nice. I don't know how you do that. I've never been involved with something like that, but I think it would be really cool to see that. Fake stuff, I don't love the idea of that just because, you know, it's fake. We keep on trying to maintain green spaces and, you know, it would be great to see more like pollinator plants and things like that around there if possible. That's just my own opinion.
Versus the evergreens, you mean?
Yeah, like really having things that people sponsor a pot and they put what they want in it and they're responsible for like maintaining it. Like people sometimes do it for squares, right? They do it for like a green space in the middle of something there. A business sponsors that space.
I think the plants and the evergreens were serving two separate purposes, if I recall. I think the evergreens were primarily on the common for the tree lighting ceremony. Weren't they like decorated, or they were considered part of the holiday decoration because they were evergreen? So that this is just the distinction. There was never any consideration putting evergreens on sidewalks in front of businesses.
But there are.
Are there now?
There's one, I think, in front of Rosie's, and there's one in front of the hardware store.
Yeah, they moved.
And then and then in those black containers on the green, there's the evergreens, and in the white urns, there's fresh flowers.
So the only ones Janet is doing are the annuals
Okay,
through Mahoney's.
Just the two next to the big tree.
Okay.
so she's just doing the two big ones on the green?
Anything that has annuals in it. And speaking with her over the last couple of years, I think this year she put out fewer planters, right? Primarily because she didn't want to put them all out because she knew they weren't going to be properly taken care of, even by businesses that said they would do it.
Right.
So she has a few businesses that do it. That's where the planters are. I think she and her husband handle a couple others, maybe at the common.
Was it Joel?
Yeah, because there's a spigot on the common, so it's somewhat convenient.
So there's no water sources near a lot of those. No.
Well,
Just
there is
for-
one common.
Do you have that cover right there that you have? Can you hold that up for a minute?
It is-
So, those of you that are on the Zoom, you can't see it, but do you remember the renditions that we all did where we were gonna plant trees? So we were actually gonna plant trees and we realized, oh gosh, now you've got, Mass DOT and how do you go with the
This is what those.
power lines. So, yes, exactly. That was the intent. And then we all realized, holy cow, this is gonna be way too hard. So Evan, you actually had a good idea. Why don't we get some big planters and put in, evergreens? It was a good, let's meet in the middle, so to speak, because you weren't gonna get any trees.
We will in 2030.
Yes, exactly. So the intent what are some interim things that we could do? And I wholeheartedly agree that I don't like the fake stuff. I swore I would never have a fake Christmas tree, and
Are there,
I now have a fake Christmas tree, and it looks way better
are there,
than the real one ever could. So I don't mean, if this is Bill and the committee is welcome to chime in. We did, again, to Evan's point, try to put in those evergreens as an interim position, and then we realized you could get those little white lights, and when you lit up the common, you had all these little bushes throughout this, it looked really nice, but the batteries never lasted. And then we were buying them, and yeah, you're right, they were just dying. The ones in front of Rosie's and the ones that people were watering, lo and behold, they survived. So the artificial ones aren't a terrible idea in the interim, if that would be a direction and you could place those throughout the square to look nice.
I struggle, I'm not like popping a pin in it, but I struggle with the idea of like businesses sponsoring pots, because right now we can't get them to commit to watering pots. You know,
I unfortunately, I don't say I unfortunately agree with you. I unfortunately, Virginia's right. Those banners, Paul is well aware of this. I have tried to get people to go and sponsor those banners that go on the telephone poles, and it drives me absolutely berserk that we don't have more in Vinyl Square, but
we have one or two that are actually.
And then people are asked, where do you want the banner? There's not the
you
town.
can only do so much,
I mean,
you know?
because we get asked a lot to, people would want to sponsor an island.
Yeah.
And we did, in the past 2 or 3 years, we actually tried one location, I'm not gonna name the location, but it was 2 very, very large companies. And we actually went in and we grubbed the entire island, very, very large island, and they spent some money to plant it, and then it's not weeded, it's not watered. And it's hard for us to say, because we have no agreement with them to say you have to water it, so now it's just an island that is.
So what do we wanna do as the next step here? Is there a
We wish
subgroup?
everything that you said would actually take place.
Is there a subgroup that wants to look at this? Do we wanna revisit it in January? Do we wanna try to get a couple of artificial or other evergreens to replace the dead ones in the square before the tree lighting?
Actually, thanks to Christine's crew, they are taken out of the dead. The planters are just sitting on the sidewalk, but they're not dead because they weeded the whole
No,
bed today.
today you did it?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I guess I'm not, I haven't caught up.
I dropped off laundry today and they were right there
Planters,
at the municipal lot.
they're not dead anymore?
They're just empty.
Oh.
No,
Is
Oh, no,
I was
Brian
gonna
did
say,
that.
brought it back to life, or?
Yeah, they're empty. The
Right.
weeds are gone
We
and
can
all
spray
that.
paint
so-
them.
No, Brian did that.
Oh.
I just have another question. Is there anything that's a drought resistant, small tree or bush or shrub that can handle lack of
Cactus.
watering?
Yeah, so-
I mean, that's hardy in our area. Is there
So,
anything?
and another.
I
so
hope
we-
that's in the
We
minutes,
have,
that's a good one.
at the Adams Library, that whole area where we recently limited the sidewalk and put all that planting, we spent $5,000 on plants in that area. And that we are watering it every morning, and those are all drought resistant plants, and they're struggling. The thing is, cause it's hot, it's heat, you know what I mean, it's like, it's
Those are on the
scorching,
ground, right?
those are in the ground, yeah.
These are
And
planted.
so that's what I'm saying, and so so we have a list of drought resistant plants, I'd be happy to share it with anyone. But they're struggling right now in this heat, and it's just, because they're new, anything new, whether it be in a planter or in ground, needs a lot of care, and we're watering it every morning. And so they're watering it every morning, but then when it's like, with the sun, the heat index, it's 110, it's frying the
Yeah.
leaves.
For the record,
there-
I'm smiling about this. When we first started, everybody was watering them. And then there was too much water, and we had to take the dirt out and flip them upside down and drill
They're so-
holes because we.
Now, nowadays, I mean, I'm not sure, is there more like realistic looking fake bushes
Tell me.
that people use
I wasn't
outside, or are they gonna
gonna
become
Yeah,
faded?
particularly if you're not walking right up to it, if you're just driving by, you would never know. So there's this place right on Alpha Road, Four Seasons Greenery. when they opened it, we did the tour. I'm pretty sure they have real and artificial. I could make an inquiry.
Okay.
Right there in Chelmsford?
Yeah, 18 Alpha Road. You remember we did
That's cool.
they had a large,
How about we do that as a next step? and-
holiday
And
decorating.
you don't wanna plant right now, the thing is, you
No,
don't wanna
we
put
don't wanna do
anything
anything right now.
live right now, and so we did the plantings at the library in May, and it was almost too hot, so.
So
It's been
I'm
ridiculous.
gonna, so is everyone okay if Evan does that little investigation for us?
Sure.
Thank you, Evan, appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna just, put the list of status updates on the screen. Fire these.
Any comment from online?
What?
I didn't know if anyone online wanted to comment.
But Mike and Laura, are you okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay with that.
Okay, all right. So, if we just talk about status updates. The first thing is the parking lot lease at 40 at Vinal Square, so my understanding from Paul is that this will be a warrant likely at town meeting to authorize him to negotiate the lease when it's time to do that in the spring. Because it's a 30-year lease, he needs town meeting approval. So.
Do we need to vote?
We can, if you would like to take a vote in full support of that authorization, we can do that. I don't know if do you expect this is gonna be an issue? Well, we should,
No, I don't think it's gonna be
we
an
should
issue
know what
today.
we're voting on
Yeah,
first, so I would suggest that when the warrant is drafted, I can put it
Hold
back
on
on
to
the
that.
agenda. Okay. The next thing, Christine, I'm turning on over to you, the Mass DOT 25% design.
So I do not have any update for Mass DOT. The only next step is they have recently added a utility sidewalk requirement, and so we're trying to see if we can schedule that for this August. And that also might require some additional utility investigations, tracing essentially of the underground. So we have asked, that likely would have to be something that the town would have to pay for. So when we are looking at potential additional costs, we're actually receiving right now a proposal from Howerson Hudson to kind of pair with the next item with the Mass DOT Richardson Road to Technology Drive traffic signal that, so we're at like 5 to 15% design level to advance to 25% design. We have a good understanding of scope needed for that, but we also asked Howerson Hudson to prepare that level of understanding that cost. So ideally, both B and C here, but both the additional funding for Vinal Square to finish 25%, really that utility sidewalk, and to bring the Richardson Road to Technology Drive to 25%, including the utility walkthrough. That would all be presented at town meeting
In the fall.
in the fall. They're still advancing, like Mass DOT is still doing the review, it's just, and if we can get the sidewalk as soon as possible, but we don't have it.
So that's another one to Bill's point, if the committee wants to vote on it, we can do that, when the warrant comes out. All right, Christine, anything updated on the construction items?
So the wayfinding signs should be going in it's just a matter of, we have them in stock, it's a matter of installing them, they've been dig safe, so I would say it would be sometime in the next 2 weeks. The Middle Street welcome sign request, as we are buying a sign, it's gonna look similar to the signs you see that are provided by the state, I think it's slightly a little smaller, but that is also, I don't know if it's in yet, but that will be installed soon. The only other construction that's going on right now is on Middlesex Street, the bridge repair project. We're doing our paving program right now.
Is there any updates on the paving program?
There's no significant, a lot of the paving is outside of North Chelmsford that's happening right now, so the only thing is, and I don't have a schedule for Burton Lane. Main Street, we should be receiving a report from them, I think it's in August, so I don't have an update on that either.
When you said the bridge project, what was going on with that one?
So this was through our culvert investigations, it needed repairs. There's a lot of movement of the culvert, so I guess it's a bridge, but also a culvert. And then also the water main that's going across it, needed repairs, so the North Water Chelmsford District is replacing the water main. That's their participating cost, and then we're doing the bridge repair. And that was all mostly funded by ARPA.
Oh,
ARPA, the
American
American Rescue Plan.
okay.
And it should be complete, right now it is operating with 2 lanes in each direction still, because that was a question we had, it's essentially occurring right in front of the brick house. But the goal is to have that completed before school starts, but if it does occur if it continues into, early, fall, I think it'll be fine, because we don't have any, reduction of lanes, we're able to keep the lanes open.
Mike and Laura, are you okay so far?
Yes,
So I can't think of any other ongoing construction right now, I think that's in the area. Freeman Lake, so we did have the NOI completed. The NOI for the overall aquatic management plan was appealed, and so that's going for DEP. We are advancing the mechanical harvesting because that's a separate NOI application, and that is actually beginning this Wednesday. We'll be starting on the northeast shore, so that includes the beach. There's an area too on the south side, and then there's another area. There's 4 areas identified, so we've prioritized. So we're gonna see how far we can get amongst the 4 areas, but the northeast area being the top priority, which is nearest to the beach. And this is really also, we said, a pilot, just to see how effective it is, so we're
Can
gonna.
you still do that if there's an appeal?
This is
This is
separate,
on
so
the
there's
harvest,
two
not on the
NOI
harvest.
applications, so we can do this one because this was a separate NOI that was not appealed. And this came right before the overall aquatic.
Number 2 is going to be.
Yes, so
Okay.
number 2 has been
Alright.
appealed.
So 2 questions for me, and Paul, thanks for the response. Admittedly, I was on my phone 38,000 feet up, and I thought that it had
Yeah.
said that the applicant was the town of Chelmsford, and I said, no, it's gotta be, the individuals here. Last time we talked, there was only 2 people that had actually suggested that they did not want this, which was the individual that Peter and Wanda. They've gotten some backing though. There's 20 people now that have signed that petition. I know that the individuals on the lake are for this, the majority at least, that had approached a lot of us on the committee. Any one person can appeal, it doesn't
No, they
doesn't
need 10
matter.
signatures to appeal.
It's not a majority rule
Doesn't,
kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, so it's 10.
Okay,
But then it goes to DEP and then we see what DEP.
that was the question that I was asked. And again, they did actually get quite a bit more with 20 people. Some of them don't exactly live on the lake, but when it was around the lake, the majority that wanted this to happen said, if there's 1 or 2 people that are gonna appeal this, can that actually go forward if the majority of us want it? I think you're saying yes.
If there's
Anybody can
10
pull
If they have 10 signatures.
10.
And not all 10 were abutters or residents of the.
That's right. Do they have to do?
No. And the policy.
Could they be from a different town?
I don't know about that. I don't think so.
No, I think they're Chelmsford.
So there could be someone that's in the center though that would sign it to say that's not a good thing and that's out of town. Got it.
Paul, can you update
Thank
the group on the legislative earmark? This is to get monies to hopefully start the study with respect to the Stony Brook.
Yeah, Representative Elliott was able to secure us an earmark to start the study on, and part of the problem with the lake, is we know from studies, is what's coming into the lake. And the earmark was there, and then what the governor did, and understandably so, is the governor's frozen all earmarks until October because they want to see how the state revenues are coming in. Which is understandable, and the legislature, kind of they also cut the budget, interestingly, they cut the budget to a level that was below any of the budgets that were presented by anybody because of the concern of federal funding cutbacks. So the problem is if it's frozen until October, we probably won't get that money until the spring because Christine knows. Once the paperwork process is weeks, several weeks of trying to get it through, so we're hopeful that if it gets released by the governor in October, that, by early next year, we can start the process of doing the study. But obviously, what we've done now, we've lost the season, sadly, because we can't apply the chemicals, the harvesting is like, think of like a lawnmower. That's what harvesting is, and then like when you cut your grass, it grows back.
Yeah.
It grows back, and so harvesting is a way of management, it's not a solution.
I'm not sure if you were
That's why this
there.
earmark is helpful, to make it a solution, what can we do?
One good tool.
It's one good tool,
Yeah.
right?
I asked the question because a number of the people on the lake, you and I talked about it, like, could you put motors back on the lake to churn up the weeds and to take care of them? But the individual, and I do forget his name,
It's right, yeah.
said it's actually worse
Yeah.
if you churn it up. It's almost like fertilizing it. Yeah. I mean, even genuinely, people on the lake were thinking, can we do that? Would it actually help? Professional said no.
And what was the study like specifically on?
Christine knows it better than you.
Yeah, so it was a comprehensive lake management plan, so it was basically it's over a 12-month period, I think it was up to 6 times, we took samples of the water at different levels, different locations, and we could see where, like basically kind of understand the chemical composition of the lake, and then it was a survey to see what existing invasives exist in the plan in the lake. Also, like it wasn't a full watershed study, but it was a preliminary, like what watershed is dumping into Freeman Lake. And then it had a whole bunch of recommendations, which was part of our initial 2 NOI applications. And then there's other studies, one being looking at the Freeman Lake, the dam, to see if you would do something to change what the amount of water coming into Freeman Lake. And I guess the timing of that, if October we find that we have that funding, that kind of works out well for our workload, where we could put the RFP together in the winter, and then we would hopefully have it started in the spring.
I don't think we have any run park and beach updates to enforce that.
No, I mean, that memorial bench was installed, but that was in May. I don't know if that needs to be in the,
We already did this one.
that was in there, and there hasn't been any beach issues, no. I mean, I guess one thing is, Steve Callahan, who did a lot of these, he has retired. So we're actually posting his position right now.
And then a positive note, that I think the superintendent plans on installing a sign at the baseball field at Varney to acknowledge the Division I state champions.
That's awesome.
Those extraordinary things, because that's their own field, so.
That's awesome.
At some point, if you see a sign go up,
That's awesome.
yeah, at least, that's who did it, and that's what it's for. I think it'll be evident what it's for, but I just wanted to know that that's, last I talked to Dr. Lane, Christine, and I met with them and said.
We'll see him Friday.
Yeah, we'll see him again, it's like, well, what can we do to commemorate the baseball team? That's their home field, so the thinking is that's the appropriate place.
Yeah, I'm sure Harry A.O. will be very happy.
I mean, there is an area, because I did a walkthrough of Army Park with Steve Callahan, because he's retiring a week and 2 weeks ago. And so, Barney does have that second phase, which is a small piece, but we have an idea of where one more piece could go. Similar to what we have over at Friendship Park, but that's in time. I think right now we're focused on a lot of ADA accessibility. I guess that's the only thing on here. It's not on this list, but I know we have some from the previous capital year. We have ADA accessibility at open spaces, and we are currently looking at just the design level and costing out to improve accessibility at Highland Park and at Harrington soccer fields. Highland.
The authority, Highland School.
There's no ADA access, and so we have a couple ideas of how to bring ADA access into that.
And that was Highland Park and which one?
Highland Park and then the Harrington soccer field, right now there's no ADA access, and so it's something that stood out in the master plan of something we really should address. We will address, and potentially as part of this initial capital, we're designing it right now and putting together the cost to see what, and that some of that we could probably do in-house, especially in the late winter. So we'll probably know more about that in the next month or so, in terms of a potential timeline.
Oh, you wanna do the ledge road status?
Yeah, we're real brief on this one. It's the amended complaint is now in the land court. I don't have a schedule in terms of how the court schedule at this point. They filed a complaint, they amended, and the town has a response. But I've not seen the tracking schedule yet, but this takes years, sadly.
I would say well done though, for where we've gotten to in the last 6 months on this has been good. Thanks for the support.
Oh, you wanna keep going with the boat ramp?
Yeah, the boat ramp, again, another one that it's years, and Representative Elliott has been working with us, Christine, on this, and then Chief Ryan as well. The latest update is we submitted over to them electronically last week, certification that it did not violate zoning. And they basically, it's all a bureaucratic process, and I think my understanding is, barring the unforeseen, they're hoping to get funding in the and procure it in 2026, so that's where it's at. I mean, obviously, we're in fiscal year 26, but I think you're not gonna see anything until summer of 26.
Who's looking for
The
funding?
state, it's a state project, yeah, it's a state project, and it's just moved at glacial speed.
So zoning applies to boat ramps if they're state-owned, but nothing else?
They just have a checklist. Yeah, they have
Only
a-
joking.
Yeah, they just have a
Right.
checklist of all the things that they have to get
So
signed off.
we're gonna add boat ramps to our.
Yeah.
So the police, patrol
Oh, yeah.
where do they put the boat in? On the other side?
Lowell, but I mean,
Lowell,
they can
In an
get,
emergency, they
they
can launch.
still
I was
go.
gonna
Yeah.
say.
In an emergency, they
So-
launch, yeah.
So all of a sudden, something happens and the
I
boat
mean,
can't
it is
get down
the-
there quick
yeah.
enough
The
and it's gonna be the
rebar,
state's
the
fault.
rebar sticking
Yeah,
out pretty
yeah,
significantly.
Okay, Paul, I'm gonna give you the next one too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Richardson Road cell tower inquiry. I heard from Verizon last week by email, and then I spoke to them on the phone. They're interested in putting a cell tower at 54 Richardson Road to the rear of the property. So in other words, you were at the front gate and went straight and then kept going, basically beyond, the buildings, beyond, the sand area, and basically, they need to get away from the residential, because think of the topography, but
I think the
by
question
dog
at the
park.
last
So
meeting,
basically, you go to the dog park, go as far away from the dog park as you can to the rear of the property, but
the,
obviously staying out of the brook.
the question at the last meeting was, would the tower, so you got all these big, sand hills, would the tower go up and above that?
You're
How
talking
much would you
120
see?
feet. So I asked them,
That would-
so I asked them, I said, would you talk to your folks whether you put a crane out there with a balloon, because,
Yeah, that's right, with the balloon
and
idea.
I'm waiting an answer on that.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Because that would be the idea, because that's what we wanna know, you don't want a surprise, oh, I didn't realize that's how tall 120 feet was.
It's pretty
So
tall.
that's what they're going to do, again, at their cost, because again, the town would have to kind of rebid that. But that's where it stands at this point in terms of the cell tower.
I'll give you the next one too, Paul.
Sure, permanent building committee, no fire station renovation, as Christine knows, the work is done by Triumph. All the restoration, repairs, all the punch list, everything is done. In other words, what you see, the lettering's all done, the globe, everything is done. And I looked at my notes and looked at it again, because I spoke to Jim about this last week, at this point, the committee's position is, unless they're not intending to do anything more, we did get some early response from Weston and Sampson about, at a cost, you could add some molding. But at this point, the committee's not doing anything because they're wanting to see the reaction from the community now that it's completely done.
Does the community know that?
I don't know, that's why I'm saying it here, I'm just going through my notes, that's what I'm saying here is, what is the people, I think the committee wants to know, right, you're helping it,
Yeah, so we
They wanna know what is-
so we did Weston and Sampson said you can add molding, but it will be at a cost. And the
Right.
thing is not, it sounded like, we did initially ask, well, what is it cost? And they can't just like look on some database and pick out a square footage, they'd have to come up with a design. So I think in order for us to advance some type of understanding of what that design and scope, we have to do some more scope with Weston and Sampson potentially.
What's not making sense to me in that is that in the original, I was at the meeting when the permanent building committee picked everything out. And in that meeting, in the original choices, there was molding around the windows. So what design do they need to do? Because what happened was our guy just forgot to include it when he went back to trial.
So I think what might have happened is, I think they said there was molding, but then when they looked at the piece, it would all have to be custom.
It's not, there's nothing off the
It's
shelf
not,
that you
yeah,
just
it's
snap
all
on.
custom, yeah, so it'll all be custom.
And the committee thought, well, at the time, the bottom part of the apron hadn't been completed, the lettering hadn't been completed, so they're basically saying, let's get it all complete, and let's see what the continued feedback is from the
Are they
community.
gonna solicit you? They're just hoping,
I honestly, I probably think they're hoping it just goes away, but I
Yeah.
know Laura's there,
So-
and
so-
I'm gonna be honest with you, one thing I know, I've been
I
on Laura
will-
for a long time, I'm not gonna give anything but a straight answer.
I will
But I think at
say,
this point-
as a resident of North Chelmsford, I have heard a lot of people before it was complete complain about it, and then after it was complete had changed. I've heard from, like, this is me speaking as a resident and I live in the area. I have heard people say, wow, it actually came out much better than I thought, probably from several like random people. The other idea is like, do we go, so yeah, I guess if we still still thinking that we wanna advance some type of custom designs, custom to sounds expensive, or do you look at landscaping too, because you potentially do some more landscaping?
So
well,
we're just talking about the molding though?
She came up with you, so.
No, I just wanna ask, are we just talking about the molding? Not all the facade and everything else, is it
It's
now just
molding
down to
around all the
molding?
windows
There was
or
supposed to
the
be
top.
white molding around the
Around the
windows,
windows.
so it looked more like a home that fit in the neighborhood versus a warehouse.
Okay.
Laura, go ahead.
Oh,
When you-
I don't even know if I should speak. I know if you put molding around the windows, it still looks like a warehouse. It's not going to look like a home in the neighborhood by any means. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have any answers. If it is what it is, maybe you try landscaping. Yeah, I'm not hearing positive feedback, but I don't know. I don't I don't know. I've said my piece. I don't think I can come up with anything myself that'll make it look better.
Could I
I
ask
just,
a
the
question?
one thing, like I said at the meeting when I was there, I just beg, please do not do this to another neighborhood. I mean, it truly is. The brick was okay, even that, it looked like fake brick, but this doesn't really belong, at least in a neighborhood area in town.
Laura, I'm just gonna ask a question. Whether it would be the molding around the windows or landscaping, it sounds like they're done with what they say they need to do.
Yeah.
If someone were to donate the materials, would the contractor help put it up?
No,
We would have to
no,
hire
no,
someone.
we have to hire them, the contractor's done, they're not coming back.
Okay.
And they, they kind of,
Does the landscaping have to go through the permanent building committee?
No, we can just, DPW has, we do it, the
landscaping,
building's
yeah.
done.
If people have suggestions on landscaping, Christine and I are
We
all
can
here.
just do arborvitae. I mean, we have to, I
We have to
guess,
be watered.
we wanna make sure that, fire department's okay with
Fire trucks got water.
but, yeah. I also, the idea of putting white molding around the building, I don't know if that would fix it, I don't know.
I would agree.
I don't think, cause if we have black
It would
lettering
be
and white
black if
molding
anything, yeah.
and.
Because the whole thing looks dark. I don't know.
And then, is that really, I don't know, I think I would almost wanna try landscaping first. I don't think it looks that bad, so and I have heard people change their opinion, so, but there's still, I know still some people.
What do we do to get suggestions on landscaping? Is that a DPW thing in their spare time, or?
We don't have a
For friends.
landscape designer, but we can just go look at some arborvitae.
Give some designs.
No, I'm serious,
Yeah.
like something to beautify the.
There's not too much space, because there is a couple trees, so I think it's really just going out and placing, because I guess the idea is the screening, you probably want to.
Would we do it, or would we hire a local landscaper to do
Or
it?
flower beds or something
Well,
like that.
well, I wouldn't plant right now. 'cause of
No,
the-
but just if
But if it's just
something
an
was designed.
arborvitae's, highway can do that in the fall.
Are there windows on that side of the building?
Not on the Washington Street side, I don't think, maybe up high, but not down low. I have to go and
So
check.
the reason I'm asking is our providers get pretty big. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know what
I mean,
those
I'm not
windows
a
are.
landscape designer, but I could go out and propose a couple things. Or
Maybe
maybe a bush.
You gotta have somebody that you know that can come up with some good ideas. You know a lot of people.
You can put
We'll get some
hydration, and I was just thinking if you put something, it would screen
Some of
that
them.
space, some of that space, I think it would help.
So future discussions are probably.
Look, I owe it to Laura to try to figure something out because
yeah, no.
she knows that I now like it and I haven't seen it. She's gonna kick me in the shin when she sees
No,
it.
no.
So.
From my perspective, I don't know. I mean, you could try molding. I think probably best bet is to try and put some trees in. But no, Bill, you can't help me. Looks like a warehouse. It is absolutely looks like a warehouse in the middle of a old neighborhood.
Let me see if
Old
we can't
town
find
hall.
someone to
I'm gonna
draw up some landscaping.
put landscaping on this.
Yeah.
Next thought
Do you
process.
if it's not like this elaborate plan, we could definitely do something this fall. Or sometimes there are fall hazards, I don't know, so if it's on a fall hazard list, we'd be planting in the spring.
The last status thing was the ZBA disposition. I had shared that the use as an auction house was coming before the ZBA. Do you want to take this one, Evan?
Yeah,
Or do you
sure.
want me to take a shot?
Yeah, so the zoning board overturned the building commissioner's denial of the use. Zoning board determined that it was a warehouse facility with an accessory retail component being the auctions. So that's where it stands now. Depending upon the scope and scale of the actual auction, it may trigger a zoning permit, meaning site plan approval or something of that nature. We just don't have any other additional details as to how frequently, how big, what kind of auction. But the fact that it has a retail component, if they're gonna do an auction, they have to have adequate parking. A couple of months or so ago, you inquired about trucks or something across the street in the dirt. I think they're common ownership, so I don't know if they're somewhat related. But if anyone wants to use a dirt parking lot formally as part of a business, they have to pave it, which requires stormwater, and so more to be determined when we get more information on
So
it.
there's something
And
going on there.
At least what was presented at the meeting was the main reason that the owner, or he's the property owner,
I think so, it's
wants
just
to do
business.
auctions there, the business owner, is he does, like warehousing and storage from estate sales or foreclosures. And the statute says you have to, put that material up for sale near where it's being stored or near where the event occurred or something like that. So he's not like looking to become like an auctioneer.
Traditional.
Having an auction every Friday night, it's to auction,
Although
it's
there's
to
been a lot
auction
more-
off, it's to auction off the things that he has in storage, was at least what was presented to him.
There's been a growth of just even the storage units on that property over the last 10, 15, 20 years. I could see it growing significantly if that was the case. It could, there'd be a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really started to notice like, wow, there's a lot of things down in that.
So, the next thing I have was just the holiday, event planning. There was some email from Brian that everybody wasn't on distribution. It looked like he was trying to start getting organized for the tree lighting, which would be December 6th, and the other events, so I'm sure we'll have more on that later. Paul and Evan and Christine, are there any other community updates?
I'll just say, Trimble Crow 255 should be wrapping up phase 2 and 3, late August, early September. think all the transportation improvements have been completed.
They started leasing.
Phase 2 and 3 are what?
Well, the final buildings.
Those are the final
yeah.
phases.
I think by October, yeah, I think phase 2 may be done at this point, and they're soon, it's August.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
certainly by the fall, in October.
And where was that again?
255 Princeton Street, the former UMass Lowell West Campus.
And then, for those who haven't heard, the 133 Princeton Street has had some snafus. They are in the process of submitting to the planning board for modification.
Is that the liquor store?
Yes, yeah, I think to allow the penthouse to remain. So we'll see how that goes.
It wasn't in the original.
It was
No,
not.
no, they turned it in, nobody would notice.
The elevator shaft was, but not the habitable space.
I thought they were doing storage up there.
Most did, I think.
I,
Thought it was gonna be distribution.
if it's okay with the group, I'm just gonna quickly show what we're gonna defer to next time, just to orient you on what's there, because I don't think we'll have a productive discussion tonight about it. But Evan and I had sat down and we took the whole previous plan. And there's a table of recommendations in the back. So if you guys could take a, does anybody vote to stay and do this tonight? Okay, so if you could take a look through this for the next meeting, because I'll be the guest speaker instead of the library or the planning board. What I did here was these tables are directly out of the plan. And so I just put a note over here to the right, whether Evan and I either didn't know what the disposition was or something is incomplete about it. X's mean that it was vetted and it turns out it was a no-go. Okay, IP is that it's in process and the check marks are that it's complete. And then where it was appropriate to put a comment like this is partially on its way, I did that. So the thought process that we had was it would be appropriate for the committee to go back and look at some of these things that didn't fall into this initial priority list that we were working and see whether they're still applicable and over what time frame, or if we want to drop them and what our next steps would be.
Okay.
So
Happy to review.
we'll do that. I'll be the guest speaker at the top of the agenda next month, if that's okay with everybody.
And what's the meeting date, the next one?
Monday, August 25th.
Thank you.
You won't be here, Paul.
No,
You don't mind if we have the discussion.
No, thank you, I won't be here, so don't expect me here.
Okay, you'll get all the action items. There's no public comment, because there's no public. Any other future agenda topics or any business?
Was there anything on the light there by Mahoney's?
That was the, you mean the traffic improvements, Richardson Road to Technology Drive?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what Christine said.
So that PowerPoint slide will be up on DPW hopefully tomorrow. So we
Okay, is it
have,
gonna go forward?
Is it in the, it's in the
Well, the
preliminary
process-
design, right?
With the whole UMass West campus,
It's not, there isn't a funding source committed to it.
Yeah.
Is it in the preliminary design?
Well, that's where we are, and that's why we're gonna go to town meeting in the fall to get the finished money to get the 25% design. Then, once that's approved, we then have to go get it on the tip, which is the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments Transportation Improvement Plan. I know you use too many acronyms. And so you're probably looking again, 2030, and then it's probably, what they say, 2-year project, 2 to 3 year project?
it's
for
a 2
construction?
or 3 construction seasons. I mean, depends, signals, depends
So they
what's
separated that out from
final.
Final, yeah.
Oh,
This is just the Richardson Road
Richardson Road
to Technology
and,
Drive.
and the other signal there at Princeton Street. That's one project, but the town has to advance it, right?
Right,
Yes.
and now they were asked to consider sidewalks all the way up to Technology Drive, and they said, well, that's just gonna add to cost and scope, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and the residents had valid points, it's, there you're doing like 45 and there's no sidewalks, and that's like, if you're on a bike.
Well,
or
Mass
walking.
DOT, I guess, in order for Mass DOT to do it, it
Yeah.
has to have bicycle and pedestrian accommodations, but that will, it essentially becomes a road by. And so the cross-section shows one lane in each direction, and I think that's where some of the pushback was,
Right.
this is gonna cause traffic. But the traffic analysis with the build out of the, of 255 Princeton says that you can accommodate one lane of traffic.
Yeah.
So, and it will have I think too, I think people at the presentation were disconnected in that they couldn't understand how, because at Richardson, there's turn-offs, so a separate lane to turn onto Princeton or to turn from Princeton, like around the gas station.
They call it
So-
shoot.
Or shoots, they call it shoots, those are being eliminated because it has a lot of pedestrian and bicycle conflicts. And so I think the perception, and what I saw was people said, well, you can't eliminate those because they're needed, but they're accommodated through they'll have turning pockets at the intersections. It will all go through the analysis and we're still well before the 25% design.
Yeah, that traffic coming out of the UMass West campus, that will certainly increase it.
It's already gone up, I live right there, but it takes me an extra minute, I would say right now. I mean, they're just piling in this week, so I mean, there's gonna be a lot more, but.
Mike and Laura, do you have any other future topics or any other comments?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our next two meetings are August 25th and September 29th. Paul, we don't have an October meeting, so if we want to take votes on recommended warrant article language, will we have it by the end of September?
Yeah, the warrant will be signed, yes, by then, and yes.
Okay, so I'll do it for that
Yeah,
meeting.
do that in the September meeting, yeah.
Okay, it's 8:56.
I make a motion to adjourn.
No motions in second?
Second.
So we need a second, all those in favor?
Hi,
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, gang.
All right, thank you.
thank you. Bye.